Top Hill Recording Podcast, episode 204. Our guest tonight, Joe Piano.
safe to say wondered if I were here. The silence of the world with my own ears. Listener of voices, lose your mind this time, this time. And I have traveled in my mind to far off worlds, back to ancient times. I close my eyes and slip away. Traveler of dimensions, lose your mind. Once again this time, this time. Seer of visions, lose your mind. I wish with all my heart to live a long, long time. Someone comes, another goes. That's just the truth about this life. God knows that I've been blessed. Heaven knows I tried my best. Time's flying by and I just love to be alive. When it's finally time for me to rest, I will sing. Heaven's looking for an angel. Heaven knows that I don't belong. I can't spend my afterlife in some kind of paradise. You'll find that I'm alive in my songs. Heaven's looking for an angel, that I'm sure. Heaven's looking for an angel. I'm hanging on as long as I can. My greatest wish is to be an old man. At peace with life, at peace with death. Not afraid to take that step. That loud stomp of a step into the dark. Feel my soul and body break apart. But before that time comes, there's so much more to be done. So I sing. Heaven's looking for an angel. Heaven knows that I don't belong. I can't spend my afterlife in some kind of paradise. Find that I'm alive in my songs. Heaven's looking for an angel, that I'm sure. Heaven's looking for an
What's up? What's up?
How's it
How
going?
y'all doing?
Hey, before we get too far, I got to say again, like, subscribe, follow Top Hill Recording Podcast. Make sure you hit us on YouTube, hit us on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, it is solo host night. Got Spencer over there on the switcher, so he's co-hosting from the switcheroo.
What's up, everybody?
Dude, this is new.
Yes, it is. It's very different.
yeah, this is weird. So I do got to say thank you guys for being malleable this week. I have finally, after all this time, about a week ago, the vid finally got me. And it hit me pretty good, man. I was tired as hell, but I'm finally on the rebound. It's good to be back in the podcast.
It was your first time?
First time.
Wow.
I got that far.
Man.
Yeah, I had a recording session in this studio, and one of those guys got me. What can you say?
It happens.
That's the worst.
It happens. I thought, I thought I was immune, but it turns out I am not. So yeah, again, thank you guys.
Join the club, man. Join
Thanks
the club.
for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate y'all working with me and hooking it up. We even had an issue with studio location there for a second, but you stuck through. So
We were just standing around somebody's house, I guess.
now you're probably
I
at the
don't know
right
whose house.
place, the original one.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, nobody's there. You know, the studio is totally empty. It's a sad room now.
This was like a minute down the street, so
Yeah, super easy.
we could have just came on the wrong day,
yeah,
too.
Yeah. No, right day, wrong spot. But totally glad you showed up. Spencer and I just got a show we always talk about. Well, don't always talk about, but getting into this new format that we've kind of adopted. The 4 songs up front, man, always put you in the right space, I feel like. You guys came in and really nailed it. And very, very interesting stuff. But before we get into all that, let's go back a little bit and talk about how you guys got together. But we're going to go individual. We'll start on my right, your left, Jesse. If you wouldn't mind, just kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got into music. I know just from talking to you earlier, you said everybody here is multi-instrumentalist. So kind of when you go through this, how in the world did you get to as many instruments and all that stuff too? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Jesse Weber-Owens. Grew up here in Louisville. I got into music pretty early with my dad playing guitar. He was a classical guitar major, and I've been playing since I was pretty young, but this and that. But sorry, I got all nervous on the but so these guys, I'll say, Jonny, this John, there's 2 Johns here, but we call him Gene to make things easier.
It's just
But
for no confusion.
I grew up in a church where my mom was a pastor, and so coming up when I was maybe in my teens, John and his wife Krista were coming around to church, and so a few years back, me and Jonny started playing together a whole lot, and have been since. I met this guy at the Heine Brothers that I used to go to every day.
Chenoweth Wing.
Yeah, Chenoweth Heine Brothers. Shout out.
I was gonna say which one, man. You couldn't leave us hanging like that.
Yeah. No, that used to be the spot. But
did one of you work there? Or did you work there?
Yeah, I think
He
I
worked
was
there.
I was helping out manage there at the time.
So, how did the conversation of being musicians come up? Just
Well, Joe comes in and he'll talk about anything. I mean, he talks to everyone. He's a social butterfly. He comes in and starts talking to me about music, I think, and just so happened that I had studied music.
I used to be a little crazier, and I used to always go in every day to play chess in the coffee shop, because like I would play against myself, but like, both sides. And that was at that point a practice of like, I have like really bad paranoia. I need to be able to get comfortable with being like around people and being in public and stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to go to the coffee shop and play chess every day just to, get out and walk. And so, yeah, we probably talked about music for a year and a half before we ever ended up playing together. But we've been good buddies for a while, though.
interesting social exercise there to kind of get yourself out of your own head.
Yeah.
Go play chess with myself at the
I
coffee
can't tell
place.
who's winning when I play.
I guess that might be good, and that will lead me to some questions later about some of these songs that you all have together. But John,
Yes.
Mean Gene the Green
Mean
Bean.
Gene the Green Bean is something I
Mean
know.
Gene the Green Bean. All right, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and how you got to where you are now.
Oh gosh, yeah. So I mean, I've been playing music for a while. When I was, I think around 6, my mom had a Yamaha upright piano in the house. So she kind of started teaching me a few things on that, and I guess I wasn't the best at practicing, but I always had a fun time playing it. And then by the time I was in middle school, I started playing the trumpet. And I think slowly over the years, I got more into that. And I started playing guitar in like 8th grade and started learning about more like chord structure. And that kind of like renewed my love for the piano. So I got more into that and started doing more jazzy stuff. And by the time I was going off to college, I went to go get my degree in jazz trumpet. So I studied for 4 years to get a bachelor in that. And then I graduated and played in a few bands and worked. And it was during that point in time while working that I met Joe over here. And you know, it's funny because he said we talked for like a year and a half before we actually like started playing. Like we even like would hang out and everything.
Yeah.
And you know, he'd show me his guitars and we would talk and everything. And I think one day we can talk more about the bass later if you want the tub, but I had the tub sitting around for a while. I never really learned how to play it, and I brought it over one day just to show it off to Joe, and we kind of like started messing around, and I was like, oh, I've always wanted to play this with someone, and I know you liked it, so
I was like, dude, do you want to play that in the band?
Yeah. So we started jamming a bit more, and then I met Jonny through Joe and everything, and you know, you're always making more and more connections as a musician. So I feel like I've met a lot of people through Joe and all the other bands I've played in. So that's cool.
Interesting jug bass that you have there. Number one, to be a jazz trumpet major to get to there is interesting too.
Oh yeah. I actually haven't been playing it that long. Like I said, ever since we started jamming, which was maybe not even 5 years ago. I would say like that we start. I mean, hell, it was probably like 3 years ago. Yeah. Huh. So I'm definitely. I can't, don't try to throw me in a jazz band and play the tub, right? Because it's not gonna, it's probably not gonna go well. Right? But yeah, give me the trumpet for that. But it's, I mean, it's fun. Just like, it's nice being able to. I think most musicians would say it's pretty fun to like try out different instruments and be able. The best way to get good at those instruments is to play with other people. I think we're always saying so. It's been a fun experience
for sure. Are we good on over there? All right, let's make sure. I heard email, not a storage thing. All right. So, interesting that you number one, jazz trumpet major degree, right? You get a degree in that. I've got this guy over here who is I told him before. I mean, this is interesting that you're saying that because right before you got here, he met with some people at U of L to talk about his future and what he wants to do. He didn't go straight to school. Needed some time off because he didn't like school.
Yeah,
wasn't a dedicated student. Didn't doing the normal stuff. So anyway, he has this meeting today at U of L about kind of doing some things and getting not a scholarship, but pursuing a music major.
Right.
So as a jazz trumpet major, what does that look like? Once you do get that degree, he's going to have to do some crazy stuff because he's doing music therapy. That's his end goal.
Oh wow!
Okay,
respect.
Respect.
That's cool, man.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a whole nother
shout out to Aunt Mel. She's also my aunt, music therapist.
Awesome.
Shout out.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
See, yeah, man. So you guys probably have a lot to talk about because this is a direction that you're talking about, and then with you going through the School of Music, which he would be, can you speak about that to him about the benefits of doing something like that and spending that time honing your craft and getting to a position where
it's and I always look back now because I think we were talking earlier how I got a second degree recently, and I look back and wish that I had maybe taken some time off between before going back to university, because I feel like I would have maybe like put more time and energy into it now, like where I am now versus back then. But I think, it's like a lot of people do come out of those programs, and for lack of a better way to say it, they're a little discouraged by music then, because it is a lot, and you do get like criticized a lot, and it is a lot of work. But I think overall, even if you're, it's hard to be a musician, it's hard to make a living doing that. But even so, you're still picking up a lot of other skills. Like my arranging, like, and composing, and the way I write music has come such a long way because of those 4 years I spent in school. So I always say it's less of a performance thing and more of a history thing. You're learning how did other people perform this music? How was this music played? So I think that's a good mindset to go in with. Like, you're not going to always get to like do what you want to do. You're not always going to get to play what you want to play, but that's not the point. The point is looking at history and understanding what other people did, and then later on utilizing those tools into your own playing. Yeah. But I mean, also like music therapy is pretty different.
Yeah. Yes,
I mean,
it is.
that's neat. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, my brother did psychology, and I guess he had to study some therapy. He's kind of going like an industrial route now, but I mean, I can't even imagine working that.
I just want to commend you for that, because a lot of people don't realize what being a music therapist really entails,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's a different side beside the music that is that I think that's a little underappreciated of a career. So
psychology
kudos.
degrees on the, in and of themselves are like, really involved. I mean, that's a lot to learn. I mean, different people's behaviors and that kind of thing, and how to read those things and then respond to them. But to do that in the context of music, you still have to learn all the other things about psychology. Yeah. It's not like you're just going for music.
Right. So. And I was also going to say that Jonny can probably talk more about the school aspect of it too.
Yeah.
I think he studied even longer than I did.
It was good to save him for last.
Yeah, John was over there doing a lot of head nodding. I was like, yeah, all right, good. We're setting him up. We're giving him a softball to knock out of the park. So I guess what do you know about music, man? No, so John, tell us, what do you do?
Well, I am a violist in the Louisville Orchestra.
Oh, okay. So no big deal there.
There's nothing to talk about now.
It's insane. That's so crazy. And it is a perfect night for you guys to be here.
It is.
Because I'm telling you, right before we walked in, I said, hey, we're not going to think about school right now. You're going to have a good time. It's going to be fine.
Right.
Stop worrying. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then this puts it in a way that forces you to listen.
It does,
and not be reacting. So, John, kind of take us through your upbringing and how you got to the point that you landed in the Louisville Orchestra, being a bad man.
Really bad.
I actually grew up in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, a lot of people who were in the Louisville Orchestra weren't born and raised here. So I grew up in Columbus, and I started playing the violin. And after seeing my sister play the violin for 4 years, sitting there being the younger kid at the time, and I probably picked it up because of her. And then I started taking the same lessons, doing the same pieces she was doing, that kind of thing. So there's like a real progression of like me doing the same thing that my sister was doing, and ended up going to college for it, to bachelor's and then master's. So I got my master's in viola performance from Rice University, and then I won this job here in Louisville the next year after graduating.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was pretty.
How long have you been doing that?
17 years actually. I've been in the orchestra for 17 years.
Saying number one, you don't look like you've been out of college for 17
No.
years. So congratulations,
Well, thank
good
you, sir.
to that. But yeah, that is wild to think that you've been in that since 17 years. I bet are you one of the longest tenured
No,
members?
there's people who've been there 35, 40 years.
Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
Yeah, no, yeah. Just so when I retire, I'll probably have been in there for almost 40 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I imagine, going to work may be tedious, but it's probably rewarding every time.
I mean, we just played some world premieres this morning. I recorded some for them to have access to those this morning. So yeah, I mean, I get to play new stuff all the time. I get to play lots of old stuff too. So
well, and you've got a super amazing up and coming, Teddy Abrams, who's been around forever.
Yeah.
He, hopefully he stays here, but if when stuff comes open, there's no telling who's going to call him.
You never know. You never know. But we'll keep the progression going. I mean, we have an incredible history in this Louisville Orchestra. Doing commissioning so many different composers to write for us, and we're continuing that effort. And we're also doing a lot of stuff around the state. We've been in 50 counties, I heard this morning.
No kidding.
Doing different presentations in the last couple of years, and we're going to hopefully continue that.
Phenomenal, man. I mean, that is a very, very important public art, and needs to be continued. I'm always an advocate for any type of way you can get music out there, but especially through the city and through. I just think it's awesome.
The way that the orchestra is, like how he's talking about it, like we need that orchestra.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, probably a lot of people maybe in their city don't like, but also people that are listening that aren't from here, it is very different. Like he said, with just like they do some off the wall stuff.
Yes,
and
totally.
Weird projects.
Nothing is. There's a lot of reaching out to not only the public in spots that you wouldn't normally see the orchestra, but I know that as somebody that's been, we've been doing this is episode 204, and recently Teddy Abrams did something like in a house or something. It was crazy, but he had Scott Smith and Catherine Brooks, and there was a bunch of Blaze Grudy. There was a bunch of artists that we've had on here that they did this thing that was just totally about just interweaving all these different artists, and it was awesome. Just seeing that and those type of things that just really kind of connect artist, public with something that the orchestra, it always feels big. It feels like such a big thing.
Yeah.
So when you can break it down like that, it feels more reachable. So it's very, very cool, and probably super important that you guys are here. So, but for you guys and the other members of Joe Piano, when you have somebody like you went to school, you've done the trumpet, but you're playing this bass. Jesse, we didn't talk about your background with schooling and stuff, but when you have somebody that spent 17 years playing professional music with the Louisville Orchestra that chooses to be a part of what you are doing, does that validate you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What does that feel like?
Well, I'll say that. So if you've been in the orchestra for 17 years, I'm 28. So I don't know the math. So I was young in the church when him and Chris, 11 years old. And it's funny because sometimes like I never really talked to John much. I mean, we like hello, and he's, pulled me aside a couple times to talk.
Say, boy, I don't like the way you're living. We went to church together.
So I think at one point during, I think in 2018, I had this really bad, gnarly summer where I was like using a lot and, not doing great. And I called him just to kind of, I think by then we were kind of buddies. I mean, maybe not though. Like we weren't, but I called him to like come jam and play music, and so we played together, and it was just stuff I was improvising on the guitar, and he's a great improviser, and I think that he kind of was the first person to point out to me like dude, this is good stuff or something, where I think I'd had a pretty negative self-opinion as a like not negative, but like not validated, like you said. It was very validating because, he was coming around to hang out and to be friends and, play some music. But I guess he was kind of like, oh, like, I don't know, but yeah.
So was that around, I don't know the timeline of when some of the stuff is. Do you write the lyrics for everything?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So was that when kind of like Nosedive and Schizo Escape 2 was written around 2018-ish, 2019-ish?
Yeah, I would say so. I think around 2018, I started writing songs like crazy, like hundreds and hundreds of songs.
Yeah,
Probably.
you called me up like you like or texted me like, oh, I just wrote another song, and it was like a week after you just written another song. So it was like, okay, this guy's prolific, obviously. So,
But yeah, I write a lot of stuff. I also record a lot of stuff. And the that first album that it was kind of an EP that I put out by Wavering Dream was the name of that. At that time, like we did this song Deer Singer, and we did that with our friend Evan Visick from the Orchestra as well. And so we put out Deer Singer, and then from then everything that I did was me doing like all the parts and all the harmonies and producing everything. So Long Gone Lone Longing, which is a mouthful of an album name, came out on Sonoblast Records a few years ago. And so at that point, the idea of Joe Piano was my identity, kind of like I had a nickname Joe for several years. Most people know me as Joe. And so at that time when I was doing like most of the producing myself, it was kind of me doing everything. But the more we kind of played together, there was a point where, then we recorded this live album where I kind of had this understanding with myself, like that I want it to be understood as how you hear it live. So that the Joe Piano kind of became a band name instead of my name,
So when you made that transition from doing all the recording, and it was the live thing the first thing that was with anything other than just you doing your thing?
No, wait, I didn't understand that question.
So like when you talked about you talked about recording everything by yourself, doing it all, and then you talked about the live album. Is that live album the first thing that you relinquished control and perfection on? Because the thing is, when you record a bunch and when you record everything, there is a sense of perfection that you demand from yourself.
That wasn't it was the first time that I was putting it in somebody's hands in such a way that this is a live concert. We're recording. This will be on what it is on the album. That was a bit of but we had Sam from Hidden Room Studios came and did a great job. Love those guys. But in a creative way, no, because I had done a good bit of work with Evan Visick on my songs that we did together. And then when I was a decade ago, more than a decade ago, I was in a different band called Beatty that I was a accompanist in that band. So,
All right, so kind of I do want to talk about we kind of skimmed over, but talking about the songs. So we have 4 songs that you guys did, and really, really well. I mean, it was a killer set. Uh-oh, I'm getting limp on them. Hey. All right.
I hate it when that happens.
We're back, baby. Hey, we're back. Don't worry.
Coming back.
Don't worry. A couple of them were heavy as hell. I mean, they were heavy hitters. And when you talked about, that phone call to John, and you were at a spot, and maybe Big Green Mean Gene, whatever the hell.
Mean Gene the Green.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you may not even know this part of Jesse. So this may be
he does.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
it's good. It's good.
He's Jesse as I know him, Joe.
Joe.
back to when he was with the solo thing, but he's always been very open about things. I mean, I don't know if that's just to me, but it seems like to a lot of people, you're pretty.
I think I've been kind of public about like my mental illness, just kind of because for me it wasn't so much. It felt like a secret if it wasn't known. I don't so much like mention that. Not like a lot of the time it used to have to be kind of for me to feel comfortable around people that they know like that is what I do. Like, oh, the microphone. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
good.
But yeah, I've always kind of felt like I've been really open and kind of, I guess, public about stuff that I deal with, just because otherwise it feels kept to myself.
Yeah. Well, and you can't write songs with the lyrics that you have in Nosedive and Schizo Escape if you aren't open to that.
Yeah,
there is a vulnerability that you already kind of share as a songwriter.
Yeah.
But when you allow somebody to kind of not only try to tell them how you feel, but see the things that you're going through as well in a song, I think it allows for even more of that vulnerability to come through in the end.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a lean in type of deal. It makes you just approach it, I think, in a different way as a audience participant, to be able to kind of be drawn in with the lyricism. I think it's cool on my end. You good over there? Did you hurt yourself? Oh, here you go.
You can't play the next gig. Sorry about that.
I'm out on Sunday.
You're fired. Fire.
Yeah, dude, you can't.
Shout out Beavis and
I think
Butthead.
he's supposed to be playing a gig right now, but he backed out to be at the studio. Oh, you were good?
Yeah.
Is it solo?
It's solo.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Solo Earl.
the last song, what was it? Heaven's Looking for an Angel.
Yeah.
You guys had mentioned was the first time that you played together, or played live, or played out? What
live
was it?
together. It's never been on our like set list. So I mean, Jonny, we can play a show of completely new songs, and Johnny's just good. Like he's good. Like but
I do a lot of listening and reacting.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game for
biggest
being
thing is to
a professional musician. You have to first of all be an expert listener. That is key. And then the second thing is you have to be able to react in a split second if something changes, because all the time.
What's funny about that is the way that your progressions are not normal progressions. So your reaction has to be even quicker. It's not the normal, Nashville easy stuff. It's a little bit more intricate and a little bit more thought out, and interesting. So, I'm sure one pass through, you're good. But
yeah,
you can't guess with you. You got to let it play out the first time.
Well, and there's
which is
sometimes
cool.
in all jazz, as you know, there's blue notes, and I hit a lot of blue notes, but it's how you get out of those blue notes.
Wait, what's the saying?
Yeah.
The only thing that
No
determines if a note's wrong is the next note.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
My guys.
yeah.
Unfortunately, that next note's always a piece of shit.
Yeah, right.
That's on my end, not your
Sometimes
end.
it's the next three notes.
Yeah. You hit that fourth with no
Progression,
baby.
but
We're back.
It's a little Melissa.
back.
I was gonna address that our band is Joe Piano, and there's not anybody playing the piano, as you can see if
I
you've
didn't even ask.
been watching. But so I came up with that. Well, I was like, I'll say I deal with schizophrenia, schizoaffective. I've been diagnosed back and forth a million times, but I hallucinate constantly, and that's visual, hearing stuff. But the most active is the visual stuff, and that's kind of all the time. But kind of when I've been in my worst spots, that at those times, what was I talking about? I forget.
Visual. Visual.
Oh yeah, hallucinating.
Hallucinations.
I guess started hallucinating. But the kind of thing that was the most bad of any of the symptoms was just delusions. Like I had these really deep delusions that went in really far. And during one of those kind of particular times where I was just kind of flying around, I was kind of writing a lot of music on the piano, because I do play keys too and synthesizers, and I was like, Joe Piano. I was like saying in my head, I was like, or out loud to myself, Joe Piano, and I was like, that sounds like kind of like noir kind of in my mind. I had this weird concept of almost what I looked like to other people, to myself. It was like a kind of a persona, I guess. And so I'd been writing a lot of music on keys at the time, but I kept the name. I do play piano on a lot of recordings too, but live wise, I don't.
All right,
Mostly
so
play guitar.
So when I guess since you opened the door, I hope we can talk about it. But what is that? What does that look like for you when you're going through an episode? Is that something that you is something that's treatable with medication? Do you or what? How does that affect your daily life?
I guess it you get out what you put in is a kind of a good way to answer that, because when you continue to do drugs that you shouldn't do, first, I've had I've dealt with addiction for over 10 years, been clean a couple years now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But it's kind of those rock bottoms can look so not a big deal to you when you're doing drugs, because you have drugs to do, and you're people around you's feelings doesn't really matter so much. So, and I happen to be like taking I kind of messed around with all kinds of stuff, but was like psychedelics is what I did most, like over the counter cough medicine, basically. And so while I had a pre-existing hallucinating and mental illness already, that plus psychedelics for 10 years just kind of spun me pretty far out there, that it took a while to come back to just kind of being in the atmosphere. But so, I guess if I don't, I guess it's kind of, it's like, oh, I actually care about how this affects my folks, and stuff like that. Like, you kind of get time and perspective, and then, but also it's not having really a desire to use.
So after a couple years of being clean, do you feel like you are back to being center? Do you feel like you're actually back to the organic Jesse Joe Piano original version of what you were before all of this other stuff, regardless of any other mental diagnosed illness, but just being 2 years sober? Do you feel like you're back?
Yeah, I feel like I'm back, but it feels more like I was never really here. I started hallucinating when I was like 9 years old. So I had this I was having these visual hallucinations and stuff, where I think a lot of how I can kind of hallucinate all the time, but it not affect my behavior or how I interact with people. It's because I started having them so early that it's almost like I kind of grew up thinking it's like, oh, this is the standard or whatever. But I had kind of struggled with a sense of reality for a long, long time. But yeah, I do feel now that I wouldn't say back, but kind of just in the next chapter, I guess.
Moved on.
Yeah, and it really isn't that easy. And I had to really struggle with it to get to where it was different for me. AA was a big part of my life for a long time. I don't still go to meetings, but I also don't really think that recovery's a linear thing too. That I don't think there's one way to do it, but I just was lucky to had stopped at any time that you stop, you're lucky to cut it off.
Look, now you're married.
I am married. Yeah.
How long have you been married?
I married my wife Bettina in March. April.
Almost a year. You're moving up into a year, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
That doesn't happen to a dude that's deep into addiction.
Yeah.
If you do, it's not healthy. So congratulations. And dude,
thank you.
I got to say, John, for you probably watched or seen some of that from the peripheral, and to see what, where he is now, moving into being a married dude and playing music and doing good things. It has to be pretty cool to see on your end, considering.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was there for some of the really bad stuff.
Yeah,
I imagine
and
so.
to see him come out of that and be in the place where he is now is really great. So,
Yeah.
and to still be able to make that music happen. I mean, that's how we started, right? So, and it was during that time,
Yeah.
and to kind of see that progression of like how the music helped him, right?
Talk about music therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Way around.
I'm a self music therapist.
Yeah, well, it also sounds like you had two guys that were totally bought into getting you out of whatever you were in.
Well, because we believed in his
You know.
music, man.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why. It's-
Right.
Well, I mean, music is awesome, but it's somewhere deeper than that. You believed in him,
Yeah, it's true,
and
yeah.
I think at some point when you have people that buy in to you as a person, you can start to buy into yourself. When you talk about playing those songs and getting validation, what's more important of a validation than realizing you're worth something? That you got people that got your back, that'll take care of you. So, it's cool to see you guys, because a lot of times you get band stories and stuff, but I think that sometimes it's a little deeper, and I think you guys have a little bit deeper of a story than maybe sometimes y'all even think about.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because the music's good, guys.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
killer.
you so much.
Thank you.
It's killer.
And I think I don't know. I guess the angle with when I was like producing my own stuff, and I still do. I mean, I have several other projects that I release under, but that with I don't know, because the album, The Mouthful, Long Gone Lone Longing, we I mean, if you listen to some of the songs that are on that and then listen to the live album, how the live album, it shows it kind of in a more stripped down live sense, because on certain songs on the album before, I had really elaborate, like accompaniment and different parts and,
Vocal harmonies.
yeah, and harmonies. And that kind of felt, I was kind of orchestrating, but that was kind of me in my zone. And now that it's so much more of a thing where probably our next full album will be recorded, the three of us playing like we did. So, but also that, well, I mean, and I will say what he said about like believing in the music was also something that, that changed my life, I guess, was because I don't know, I feel like, this project alone, while has kind of in the process of me like having a healing experience that I probably wouldn't have had without the project, that I needed this band to happen to probably survive, if you really think about it.
Before we get out of here, I do want to say a quick shout out. In the past, I don't know, not too many months, we've lost some people in my circle that, not young, long lives, but Top Hill family. So but Jack West recently, Brent, who was a part of this for a while and hopefully someday will be again, Brent West lost both of his parents in the last probably 4 months, and it was pretty rough. But his dad, Jack, the biggest, Jack was always around. I mean, ever since I was born, he was a part of my life. Both his mom and dad. My dad and Jack were best friends from high school on. They got pictures together from them and the neighbors, and they're all still together. They all still run around. These two, unfortunately, were the first two of that group to really, that have been together forever to pass away, and it sucks. But Jack West was the very first person that wasn't like my age, that I gave original music to, that validated me, that told me how good he thought it was. And it wasn't with the band stuff. It was when I finally was writing what I really felt. And, man, when you get that type of validation and you get that type of support as somebody that gives you that you're good, you're worthy. It's awesome. There's nothing better. There's nothing that gives you a feeling or a jolt more than somebody that believes in you. And you hope to be that for somebody else in one way or the other. But to get that is awesome. And I just wanted to kind of, before we left here tonight, say just a big shout out to Jack and Barb West and the West family before we get out of here. But you guys, I do want to say I appreciate it that you all worked with us to get this thing in here.
Sure. Thanks for having us.
you.
It was an absolute pleasure, not only to listen to your music, but to have this conversation. And before we get out of here, can you tell us and all our listeners and viewers where they can find you, where they can hear your music, what you got going on in the future, when we're going to get some new music, all that stuff?
Yeah, so this past year we put out our first live album titled Live. Makes sense. So you can find Joe Piano, you can find our stuff on all streaming services, and YouTube as well if you don't have those. It'd be cool. Y'all can go to Guest Room and get a CD. And those have been sitting there for a long time. But yeah, so all streaming services, we have an Instagram, Joe Piano Band, that I look at once every 2 months or so. I forget I have it sometimes. But I think we are going to be what's next? I don't really know that right now.
You can sort.
There's a lot up in the air right now.
You can source out your Instagram account. You can find somebody who will take pictures and post stuff.
Well,
you don't have to do it all yourself.
Gene here has he's moved to
Illinois.
Yeah. So Gene comes to town for the important stuff.
Yeah, like this.
Oh man, I hope you weren't on your way when I had to cancel.
Oh no. I moved all my stuff, but I'm back in town right now, just trying to.
He was already
sell
here.
my car and everything.
It worked out.
Okay.
If anyone needs to buy a car, you can
What year you got, buddy? Advertise it real quick.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, it's a 4-door.
But I was gonna say that it's. When I say up in the air, it's not so much the project is not going to continue as much as that, we're going to keep playing together and stuff and making more albums. And yeah, but
probably has to be a little bit more planned with the with the bass player
and also
in Illinois.
the thing about the project is me and Gene can play just the two of us and play a set and it's great, or me and Jonny, but I'm kind of right now looking for somebody, a harmonizer, to harmonize. So I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm not like really just like putting that out there, but like I'm kind of maybe thinking about some new people.
Yeah.
Right on.
But it's so tight knit and personal that it's almost weird to like,
right,
let a random guy in.
Yeah, it's a group decision at this point, fellas. It's a group decision.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you don't forget to subscribe to Top Hero Recording Podcast, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. Spencer, I know he doesn't have a camera right now, but where can they find you?
Instagram, just at spencer.corbin. I am a luthier, so I can fix instruments and build instruments. So if those services interest you, please hit me up.
There you go. The man's good.
That's
Give him a
awesome.
shout. All right, you guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Until
Thanks for
next
having us
time.
on.
Till next time.
Awesome.
Thank you.